Hi, I'm Tony. You're listening to Thousand Second Album Club, and these are the albums from 1994 that Jeff and I think you should hear.
Hi, I'm Jeff Stephen, and you're listening to the Thousand Second Album Podcast. This season, we're talking about must-hear lists as I continue to ask people that are important to me all about the music that's important to them. Enjoy! This is the Thousand Second Album Podcast. I'm Jeff Stephen, and today is a good day because anytime you get to chat with a pal in England is a good day. Please welcome back Tony Hill.
Thanks, Jeff. That's a lovely introduction
Oh,
once
thank you.
again. Thank you.
The least I could do. And the speaking of lovely, the year 1994 was lovely for many reasons, music wise. But I'm
Mm.
before we go through our list, I'm just very curious. What was a day in the life like for Tony Hill in 1994?
Well, it's strange because I think a lot of the albums that any albums that I can look back and say, these are great albums from 1994, I honestly don't think I can turn around and say, I remember much of them at the time. I remember a lot of things about 1994, but depending at the point in 94, I was 13 or 14. So I would have been obviously I would have been in secondary school,
Mhm.
but it was also at the age at which I was probably defining my own taste. So I was very much, I had my own bedroom. If memory serves, I would have been listening to headphones late at night, plugging into the radio, listening to the sounds coming in from across the channel, discovering that whole movement. I remember hearing of Kurt Cobain's suicide at the time. I remember all these things. Um, this was the year. This was the year of, life is like a box of chocolates. this is this was the year that Jim Carrey was doing The Mask and Ace Ventura and all of that. And so a typical day for me was, yeah, I was waking up early. I was cycling to school. I was going through that, and I mean, what a time to be finding that music for the first time round. Finding all that music in what is still, to me, one of the last great decades of music.
No, absolutely. And that idea of the mediums changing is a memory of this year for me where I can picture this being the year where I started to have some of them on cassette and drifting into some of them on CD as well. And so I
Yeah,
think this is probably the calendar year where I've got the most multiple copies of something where it was
yeah,
so good on cassette I had to to get the CD as well or that sort of thing. And so
yeah,
yeah.
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 Not vinyl at the time. Don't you wish you'd got them
No,
on record from the time? Don't you wish you got some of those?
would have liked the prices then a little better, probably.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah. I mean, saying that, I think I've got Aerosmith's big ones on cassette from that
mm,
year, from getting that,
nice.
and I know I've got that on CD as well because I listened to it and I got my first car on CD.
Yeah. Nice. And I was disappointed when our most recent car didn't have a CD because that now what? And so, but many great ones to choose from. So we had the very nice problem of trying to narrow it down to five must-hear albums from
Mm.
1994. And so I guess yeah, if you're up for, in no particular order, if you're up for kicking it off with your first choice.
Okay. So look, I'm going to throw in a quick caveat in
Yeah.
that this could change at any day because the list was long, and
Oh.
I tried to then think, okay, you gave me the idea of essential songs from that era, and I thought, okay, which of these albums would I say has an essential song on it? Which one do I think is really important? And that really helped me whittle it down a bit. And I'm surprised at how far across genres they've gone as well. I did also lend myself a rule of like, okay, because Nirvana's Unplugged is a really important album, but it's an unplugged, and Alice in Chains' Jar of Flies is an EP. So because 1994 was such an important year in what we call, that horrible phrase, grunge music, because it was the year, it's like the defining point. It's the year Kurt committed suicide. So anything that comes after was kind of tainted and woken up. So I'm going to go my first pick for that with Pearl Jam's Vitology.
Excellent choice. It's funny that was one of the ones. If we eventually get to an honorable mention, that was one of my honorable mentions because
Really?
and if I were to if we were to reconvene and talk about the essential songs of
Mm.
that year, for me, I'd have a very difficult time leaving Corduroy off of any
Yeah,
list of the five essential songs.
it's just a fistful of frustration.
Yeah.
It's just,
And entirely self-inflicted that we're narrowing it down to just five for us too.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was like, why I love that album is because people, it was their, they're wrestling with it all at that point and losing it. But you've got things like Bugs and Stupid Mop and Hey Foxy Mop, everyone. But if they didn't have those, that song, that album, even with those, it's great because it's like I think they put them in there on purpose because without those, that album would have just been all killer and could have just catapulted them to the levels that they were distinctly trying to avoid.
Right. Yeah. And in terms of the packaging of the album too, it was a funny challenge for our CD collection back in the day because you had everything in this sort of uniform
Back in the
dimensions,
day,
and
it
all of a
still
sudden,
is.
or no, sorry,
How is it that?
the problem continues. That's true,
Yeah,
but just how they were,
just sticks upright. Yeah.
and the liner notes, how it's just the pages and pages of
Mm.
the medical, vocabulary, whatever the case may
Yeah,
be.
it's that weird book he found, and that book changes hands for ridiculous amounts of money because of that now.
Yeah.
Don't have one. I'm not that that kind of a fan.
No, but no, excellent choice for for all those reasons and more.
Mm.
And yeah, definitely could we have done 10? I would have been there with you as well. But it's funny the first one on my list was one you alluded to there as well,
Mm.
where because I was trying to find a way to get as much in as possible, and because this album sort of linked to other artists as well, I couldn't resist putting on Nirvana's MTV Unplugged in New
It
York from the
it
list.
was it was in real contention for the fifth place.
Yeah.
I can completely side with you there.
And for me, the what I find for this one for me is that it actually would if we'd done this in 1994 as 13-year-olds, I
Mm.
probably wouldn't have had this on my
No.
list because after he passed away, I went off them for a while and then got interested in them again when the early 2000s when You Know You're Right came out. I really liked the vibe
Such a
they
great
had on
song,
that one.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that led me back to the discography and I've been enjoying it since.
Mm.
The and it also was a great gateway album to other artists, how they did the cover of The Man Who Sold the World, which led
Yeah.
me to David Bowie. And in Penny Royalty, there's the line about the Leonard Cohen afterworld. And so that
Oh, isn't
opened
that
the
a
door.
beautiful line?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that
And
opened the
there's you've got
door.
the Vaselines on there, you've got Meat
Yep.
Puppets, yeah.
Yeah. So
But I
just
think one of the reasons I love that is because Nirvana are such, from Bleach to an Utero, it's a loud, it's a punk, it's it's a loud scream against convention. And the first album after Kurt's passing was such a quiet, this is actually more of them. This is just they were so much more than that.
yeah, absolutely. And I think I it was one of the ones that was probably instrumental in one of my core beliefs where like if it is a great song, it doesn't need all the layers. And so that these worked so well with just the
Mm,
acoustics, the odd cello, and maybe I think an accordion popped up at one point too, or something like that. So they
yeah.
like just without all the bells and whistles and distortion, they just hold up so well on their
Mm.
own too.
And there's songs that you wouldn't expect to hear like that.
No, that's right.
Yeah. And it's I think the power of his voice on Where Did You Sleep Last Night?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So raw. So raw.
Mm.
Yeah. The so those I'm pleased we were able to help you get our albums that
Yeah.
didn't make the list tagged off
I
on each
feel I
other.
feel like you've given me an extra one there.
That's good. We'll see if the does the trend continue on the second choice is the
Mm.
question.
Okay. So I'm going to swing to a slightly different genre here. Well, because I think they all kind of they're all I'm I'm going to slip in here with one that I think is kind of across different genres in a way. It's Jeff Buckley's Grace.
Excellent choice. And what is it about Grace that that had to be mentioned here?
Oh, everything.
Yeah.
It starts with a sigh and it ends with a prayer, and everywhere in between. It doesn't feel like it belongs to just one genre. It floats somewhere, and his voice. There are times I've heard people say it's too much. But there's so much on that album I love. I love the feel of it, the sound, the fact that you can hear the wood in the instruments, you can hear the ache in his voice, and there's just such power in it. And that's all we got,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
I didn't get into that one till much later. I think I heard it
No,
for the
me
first
neither.
time probably like in the 2010s somewhere. And
Right.
I remember hearing Mojo Pin at first and thinking like,
Mm,
oh, this is so unorthodox. But then on the second or third listen, it was just that moment of like, yes, this this is exactly how I want it to be. And
yeah.
yeah. And the Grace as well. They're just like I've learned I have a real weakness for the 6/8 time signature as well. And so
Mm,
just the nice rhythm in that one is gorgeous. And not to mention the other 8 tracks as
yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
so yeah, no, another good choice. And for me, that one again, if I hold up my notes to the audio podcast camera, there he is at the bottom. As Jeff Buckley is one of the honorable mentions. But I didn't find room because one of the groups I simply had to include was the band Pavement and their second album, Crooked Rain, Crooked Rain. And so,
Jeff, so good again.
and again, it was like the rationale came from many different reasons. Another one where these guys, even though I would have wanted to include some Stone Temple Pilots on the list, at
Mm,
least these guys referred to the Stone Temple Pilots on the song Range Life,
yeah.
where they're like out on tour with Stone Temple
Oh,
Pilots.
I heard that one today, oddly enough, in the car.
Yeah, and then Smashing Pumpkins in there as well. Yeah, the
Yeah.
out on tour with the Pumpkins and the Pilots, the Elegant Bachelors, and so like having them name checked was nice. I think if there was a list of favorite ever guitar tones
Mm,
on Gold Sounds, where it's about a minute and a half into the song, where it's just the instrumental section is just magnificent.
yeah.
Yeah, and the
Spiral Stairs. If
yeah.
he'd given himself a different name, he'd probably be cited on a lot more lists, I
Yes.
think.
And the album itself is it's such a mess at times, but to me that's
Mm.
a major selling point. And the it introduced me to Dave Brubeck as well with the 5/4 Unity there. That sort of eventually when I heard Time Out, I was like, oh, I'd recognize this. And so
Ah,
so there was that neat sort of eye opener that way too. And when I saw them, I finally had the privilege of seeing them live within the last couple of years as well. And
oh,
when
really?
they opened with "Cut Your Hair," it's like, okay, this is where I needed to be. So, yeah, but no,
Brilliant.
Crooked Rain, Pavement would be my second choice there.
That's a fantastic
That's-
choice again. Yeah. It's on my
Ex-
list. It's on
yeah,
my list. It
yeah.
just didn't make it to the final five. If it were slanted and enchanted, if we were talking about
Neither
a
two.
different year, slanted and enchanted would have been on there.
Yeah,
Um, or brighten the corners,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. The question is, what did make your list as your third selection?
Okay, so we're on number three, aren't we? Again, these aren't ranked in any
For sure.
particular order, so I'm gonna say Tom Petty's Wildflowers.
Good choice. Yeah.
I think it's Tom Petty's most vulnerable, probably his best record. It's the move to Rick Rubin's production, for again the organicness of it, and it's so warm as an album.
Yeah.
There's just so much love on there. I just feel so much. It just feels again. It's like Jeff Buckley's Grace, where you can hear the wood in it. You can feel the musicians in the room. You can hear the sound of people playing together, and it just there's just such a beautiful tone on there. Just such wonderful melodies, and Tom Petty's, like I say, it's a very unique songwriter. I think he has very clever turns of phrase, a very nice way of switching a lyric up when you least expect it. And yeah, I mean, if you've got the juxtaposition of things like "You Wreck Me," but then you've got that quiet late night drive of crawling back to you. And I just feel it's like, yeah, it just feels like a natural record.
Yeah. Nice. And it's one I didn't hear until a few years ago where in the first year I was doing this the criteria was what's an album that wasn't on the 1001 albums you must hear before you die
Oh
list.
yeah,
And my friend Kevin thought this was the particularly egregious omission from
I
the
can
first issue.
understand
Yeah.
why.
And so yeah, so when I finally checked I was like, "Oh yeah, this like they did include the Tom Petty's like the self-titled debut album, which was
Okay.
again, which is good enough. But if I were to choose Tom Petty's strongest album, I think I'd agree with you that this is the best of the bunch there too. Nice, excellent choice. The For my third one. It's some Canadian content. The band is Sloan, and the album is called Twice Removed. And it's one speaking of ones that some believe ought to have been on that 1001 albums you must hear list. Aaron Stewart talked about this one a couple years ago as well, and it's a group I love because there's the four singers and songwriters in the group, and they sort of take turns on different instruments as required, where the drummer will move up to play a guitar, and then the guitarist shifts to bass, bass shifts to drums as needed in the rotation. And I find that this one is probably it contains some of each of their best work, and it's actually one of my proudest moments internationally, where we worked at a sports store in Brighton in 2004, and when the Euro Cup was over that year, they stopped playing the Euro Cup, like the pump up CD, and I was able to slip this into the rotation at the sports store to play and introduce the masses to back 20 years ago or so. And so
And
it was
this was
fun.
Brighton here.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So we,
Oh wow.
yeah, when did I work there many moons ago as a summer, like summer work visa, and then traveled the rest of the summer. And so it was a highlight of my year to introduce the Brighton customers to Sloan's Twice Removed. And so I don't know if they saw a spike in their record collections after that, but or the record sales, but it was yeah, a wonderful, wonderful album, Twice Removed by Sloan.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that one out. You know, there's the record shop I go to in Canterbury here,
Yeah.
and the guy it's called Vinyl Store Junior.
Mhm.
But he always said that had he opened his shop in Brighton, he would have called it Brighton the Corners.
Oh, I like that. He would have had a couple loyal customers, I
Yeah.
guess, for sure. So, that's great. Nice. The For your penultimate pick, where did you go with the fourth one, Tony?
Okay. So this one, yeah, this is one I find it just so yeah, I'm gonna go a bit more international here. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go with a chap called MC Solar
Yeah.
and Pros Combat.
Nice. And what is it about that one that spoke to you?
Well, so this came from the okay, what songs? And for me, his song. So MC Solar is a French. I don't want to say hip hop, but you would say it's hip hop. He's a French rapper. He's a French hip hop, but it's more like a combination of say jazz and funk, a bit of house music, and all with this sort of it's sharing a having a cigarette at a Parisian alley somewhere. But his flow and his poetry is just above everything else. But the song on there for me is a song called Nouveau Western, where it was one my wife introduced me to when I started spending a lot of time in Paris, and because Michel Gondry did the video for it, and it's one of those sort of groundbreaking videos because then soon after everyone started copying it. But this is a song where he's taken Bonnie and Clyde from France's original Dirty Old Man, Serge Gainsbourg, and he's turned it into something really cool and modern and confrontational with, you know, projecting then Parisian street culture and the problems they were facing against this old school song, but with modernized beats to it. And yeah, I'm not a big hip hop guy. I love a lot of 90s hip hop, and this for me was real peak. It's like rappers literature,
Okay.
and his flow is just fantastic. So that's one for me.
Nice. And Pros Combat is the name?
That's the one. Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. The Because I recognize the name. He had an album, as you'll be pleased to hear, one of his albums did show up in that 1001 albums book.
Was his
The the,
first one?
the first one, yeah, the Qui sème le vent récolte le
Yeah.
tempo. And
Yeah.
so, and I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember much beyond. So this is another benefit of this exercise
Mm.
for me is that it reminds me like, oh yeah, I should
Well,
go
this is
back and
his,
check
yeah,
out more.
this was the
Yeah.
second one. So that one,
Yeah.
this was the one that, yeah, I think it cracked the US for him a bit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice. I'm intrigued. For me, it's my next one was one that it hasn't made it as big in other parts of the world, but is a Canadian treasure. The group's called the Tragically Hip, and
Ah,
the
oh,
album is
Gordy.
called Gordy. Yes, that's right. That's right. And I'll forever be grateful to Eddie Vedder when the night of their last concert. He did a whole tribute to him, and I think Jeff Ament was wearing a shirt that had Gord Downey's name on it. So it was just so nice to see that camaraderie in the music world as well. And so their 94 one's called Day for Night. And it was the
Okay.
kind of thing like at age 13 when it came out, this was the sort of album that I'd scribble the lyrics onto the like notebooks or binders or that sort of thing that really stood out to me. Compared to the rest of their catalog, it's really dark and heavy, especially the first half. And
Mm,
the closing song on the first half is called Nautical Disaster, and it's an all-timer for me, and just a great way to close the first side as well. And when the half speed master came out a couple of years ago, I had to. It's another one where it's like, well, I have the tape and CD because it was 1994, but had to invest in the half speed as well. And so it's but no, just a wonderful record. Pete McNaughton talked about Grace 2 last year as well as a must-hear song. And so it's one where, yeah, for a glimpse of what the Tragically Hip was capable of, this is a great one because it's got some of the slower acoustic ones, but it's also like the pendulum swinging right to the other end of just the really like dark and heavy as well. So D for Night was my fourth selection there.
wonderful. That's another one for me to check out.
It's the good kind of homework that you can be
Yeah.
assigned. Nice. Although there were many more deserving for the fifth one that made the cut, what did you end up? What else was the one that snuck its way into the
Well,
final
MC
five?
Solar snuck its way in because
Yes.
I picked it up while I was on holiday on vinyl, and it was like,
Oh,
you know
nice.
what, I've never skipped a track on this when it's
Mhm.
come on in the car, and so that was a
I
clear one.
love
And
it.
but the fifth, again, no particular order, is Portishead's Dummy.
Good choice. Good
Thank you.
choice. Nice. And the reasons are many, but if you had to narrow down why Dummy is list worthy.
I mean, Portishead of all places in the UK to name a band, it's really not. I think it's the drug addict capital of the UK now, because it's just nothing there. It's so bleak. But that album, we're talking. This is the era where trip hop emerged, I think. But this album, I think, goes beyond it, and it's just the whole album for me. You stick that on the turntable, and it's just such a wonderful drift through like a haze of, it's like a film noir of an album almost. It's just such a wonderful vibe, and I just get absorbed in it every time. It's Beth Gibbons vocals on Sour Times and Glory Box. It's the instrumentation. It could be sweet. It's Rhodes. It's Mysterions. It's all of it. It's just such a moody, lush texture, but it just feels like a real. You don't rush through it. It's just like it really is an atmosphere, and it's just such a wonderful vibe. Like so many of what are my favorite albums, even more modern ones. If we're talking something like The War on Drugs, it's the whole album vibe, and Dummy is one of those for me. You just absorb it, and it's like a heavy winter coat that just fits perfectly.
Love it. And is Glory Box the closer on that one? The
Yeah, I believe
yeah,
so.
because I remember listening to it again. It's been a while, so I've got to brush up. But I had that exact reaction when I got to it on that 1001 list, where it was so cinematic, like, and
Mm,
especially that
yeah.
descending line on Glory Box. Like, oh, you could totally picture the camera panning
Mm,
out at the end, and like it's not necessarily a happy ending, but
yeah.
it's when music can create such an atmosphere like that, it is so powerful. So excellent choice. Portishead
Thank you.
Dummy. Love it. The My last one also has to do with colors rather than film noir. It's the color blue that featured prominently, and it's Weezer.
Ah,
It's, Weezer's self-titled one, and it's funny again because '94 I knew and really enjoyed the videos like Buddy Holly and
mm.
the Sweater Song and Say It Ain't So. I enjoyed the videos and enjoyed the group, but I never actually got around to getting the album
Yeah.
until it was this formative trip. I remember to Toronto. I'm pretty sure it was to see Nelson Mandela had come to speak, and we were going on a
Wow.
school trip, and I was driving with some friends, and somebody put it on, and I was just blown away with how great the rest of the album
Mm,
was. And so, and as I guess often happens, like when someone comes to a religion later in life, they're all that more devoted to it. And so because I was late to the party, I think that just totally made me invest in
yeah.
the group. And yeah, so many highlights there. I really like how the pad on the drums, like his drums are almost like sing-along drums, like even more so
Yep.
on Pinkerton, where like people would sing the El Scorcho sort of
Yeah.
intro there. And the Matt Sharp falsetto harmonies are so like at times, like if you isolated it, it would be almost ridiculous, but it's so perfect
Mm,
when it's layered in there. And yeah, just Rivers is one of those quiet, like you mentioned with Spiral Stairs, like these quietly underrated guitarists that some of that work on Only in Dreams and that sort of is
Only in
just
Dreams is a
magnificent.
fantastic song,
Yeah,
isn't it? I
yeah,
mean, yeah, it's the album beyond the singles.
yeah.
And
And
again,
so
that was on my list, so
yeah.
I feel like I've got another bonus entry here out of three of yours here.
Yeah, which yeah, and it's funny. Like I was running out of real estate on the page that I was writing it all on, but what ended up helping me with the narrowing is that I thought, well, there's certain other albums where if I did a song, it would be on my list for sure. So other honorable mentions I had were like definitely maybe like if like Slide Away would be one of my all-time favorites, but it's like okay, then that Slide Away can show up on the song list or something like Park Life. I Live for Clover Over Dover is magnificent, but okay, I can have that on a song list rather than the albums. And then Vitalogy, yeah, Jeff Buckley there, Tori Amos,
Oh,
Green
Under the
Day,
Pink. Yeah.
Offspring. Yeah, so again, you name it, they all had merit, but those were the five where I landed, and I'm pleased that some of those you ended up covering anyway, so it all worked out at the end.
I'm going to say the same there because yeah, Blue was in contention there, the
Yeah.
Blue album. Yeah.
Nice. Were there other honorable mentions that we didn't get to that you wanted to give a tip
Oh,
of the hat to?
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's Mark Lanigan's Whiskey for the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
That's got a good few songs on it, but again, it's songs that I'd put on the list. Soundgarden's Super Unknown was a big
Oh
one for
yeah.
that year, but and I did toy with Pink Floyd's The Division Bell just because
Yeah.
High Hopes I think is a fantastic, and there's so many beautiful spots on there. But I think because it was what I refer to as their Phil Collins jacket era, tends to get overlooked on lists. Um, but yeah, I think the stuff that I was very curious, REM's Monster's a good album, but let down I think by the production. And the only other one I think would have been possibly Dinosaur Juniors without a sound, but yeah.
Nice. But yeah, the wonderful problem of there being
Yeah.
so much to choose from.
1994
Yeah.
has got
Yeah.
so many great albums from it.
Yeah. And I'd like to think that it's because the part of me wonders like, is it just because we were 13, 14 and like music was such a part of our identity? But it's like, no, I feel like it's just that good.
Yeah, and I mean a
Yeah.
lot of these I didn't hear at the time because, when I think when you're finding your own taste, and it's something my wife and I have often talked about, you were so what siloed in each of those taste sections. You didn't cross listen. You wouldn't have listened to it's like now if I hear like something like Prodigy or Shaman or rave stuff, at the time I wouldn't have enjoyed it. I wouldn't have listened necessarily to Portishead at the time because I was too busy listening to all the rock stuff, the grunge stuff coming over. And so I sure as hell wouldn't have listened to Johnny Cash's American recordings at the time. But if I listen, but as you go back and you listen to it, yeah, all of his stuff's opened up. Yeah, it was just a great time for music.
Yeah. And it's the and it's yeah, it lends us to future discussions as well because again,
Yeah,
there were songs that were overlooked or the follow-ups by these groups that were equally worthy of mention as well. So no shortage of things to explore.
absolutely.
Nice. Excellent. Well, a huge thank you for coming today, Tony, and until the next time.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Jeff.
This has been the 1000-Second Album Podcast. Thanks for sharing some of your time, energy, and attention with us today. Take care.